Like, they're like, oh, we can't be doing the sixes. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they showed me the threes. And I was like, it does? Like, does that do anything? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
the six is like, it's only like a 5 up, 5 down. Like, then it just sits there. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was the first time I even knew they made threes. And I'm just like, never. But I like these sour ones. Or I guess they're
Oh,
not
no way.
sour, but it's the citrus one, and it's
Yeah.
a lot easier on the gum line than,
I like getting a nice burn though. I like
Yeah,
feeling the
right. Like
burn.
it I agree. Like the wintergreen in the morning with like
Yeah.
coffee,
Oh yeah,
pretty
buddy.
pretty hard to beat. So yeah,
I just
obviously,
got off
yeah,
my cigarette rehab program
yeah,
because whenever I'm on vacation, I smoke and then
yeah,
if because it feels so much more organic when I'm there.
yeah,
And then
100%.
I come back and I'm like just like 1 to 2 like packs that I brought over the border and I call it like my rehab program. But now it transitions into Zins after that.
Do you guys don't have cigs in Canada, or why do you
We
have
do.
to?
They're just grosser, and like all the packages are like covered with propaganda that just says like this will give you cancer. It just shows like dying people on the covers. So
On
it's like
No
yeah, and then
way! I
it
didn't.
literally on the butt of the cigarette it says cigarettes cause cancer. So you're seeing that, and you're just gonna get way more cancer by seeing that. So that's why if I do, I just Sharpie out the whole thing.
Yeah, that's super. That's super valid.
Yeah.
Interesting. I had no clue. I used to have this business partner out in Calgary, uh, Keegan Carthy, and it was
Okay.
back when we were doing like short form content, and he was like, bro, like you got to ship me some of those, and he was talking about the Zins. So like, are the Zins newer out in Canada, or was he just
Yeah, we
out of
have
the loop?
Zonix. So we have there's a
Okay.
competing brand called Zonix because we had like winter foxes, silver
Hmm.
foxes or something, which are like 30 milligrams. They're insane.
Ugh.
And, but they were all sold like illegally because like Canada just can't figure anything out. So Canada couldn't figure out how to tax Zins. So for like 2.5 years, it was all illegal. Just like vape shops were just selling them illegally. But now they finally figured out how they can tax them. So like if Canada
Dude,
doesn't get a piece of anything, and if they can't do like simple math for like 2.5 years, then eventually they figure it out.
dude, why I really don't like it's hard for me to comprehend, because it's like, how would they go from like the 30 milligrams? Yes, like I could see there's serious nicotine poisoning happening there, no doubt.
Yeah,
But like it even says like 6 milligrams a day is actually kind of healthy for your focus and like,
yeah,
little things like that. So like the fact that they're like so pressed about it, but the vibe I get, I've only really been exposed to Canada through social media,
yeah,
just like the guys I'm talking to, and it's just it mind boggles me like how
bro.
close but so far away in how things are run. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Granted, the US has their shithole, systems too, but like
yeah,
some of the stuff you guys like tell me,
bro.
I'm just like, what is like
Yeah, it's
what
insane.
let's like start there. What is the like, as a citizen of like Canada, what do you think it is? Is it government power? Is it like just a lack of money? I mean, the country's so fucking big. I know there's money
Yeah,
out there. Like,
I gotta be careful what I say because starting in October, if
uh-huh.
Trudeau gets reelected, suspected hate speech will get you a 70K fine and up to 30 years in jail. So like that's like he probably won't get reelected, but like that's crazy. Like I
Who's
mean,
running against them? Do you have any
this guy named
insight?
this guy
In,
named Pierre Poilievre, but also it's like I don't know. There's some people in the States who believe that the 2020 election was rigged. If that's the way things go now, is the same thing going to happen in Canada? If so, it's extremely scary because then there's going to be UBI for $2,000 a month. But I'm like, yeah, I'll just take everybody's UBI. I'll drop it on like, but
what
like
is UBI for
UBI
those?
is universal basic income.
Oh my god! Give me a fucking
Yeah,
break.
yeah, bro. So it's like,
Give me a
but
break.
so that's what MMGA Founders Club is doing, which is like kind of like is like creating a Canadian entrepreneurial inner circle to
Mm-hmm.
like help young guys if shit kind of goes down, have a plan to like be mobile, to be able to have a network to like be in different places at once, or not at once. You can't
Hmm.
teleport, but like be in different places and basically figure out their lives if like stuff really goes down and we have like what would definitely be a rigged election because everyone you talk to here doesn't agree with Trudeau
Yeah.
unless they're in the university system, which is a whole other thing.
So yeah, the people that do support Trudeau, they're mostly like university professionals. Now,
Yeah.
like, I guess without towing the line too much, is it and excuse me for not knowing how the Canadian government works, but like, is it like a two-party system? Is there like a group of like, I guess
Yeah.
like we call them Republicans here and like
Yeah.
Democrats here? Is it very red and blue, or is there a little more unity in that, I
Is
guess?
more we have five, well, we have like six main parties. We
Mm,
have the conservatives, so
mm,
that's like the Republicans. Then we have the liberals, which are like the Democrats. Then we also have like the NDP, which are the socialists. We have the Green Party, which are the environmentalists, which are extreme socialists. And then we have the Quebecois. So we have five. Quebecois is like um, they want Quebec to be an independent province. And then we also have the Alberta Independence Party, which I'm gunning for, but it'll like I'm like let's because Alberta should be Dubai. It should be Texas and Dubai, but it's not just because every country likes to launder their money through Alberta and take a lot of our oil and gas money. It's like we end up with like single digit percent of the wealth that we actually have here. And then out of that percentage, a bunch of it ends up on the East Coast. And like, so Canada just gets like pillaged, even though it's one of the richest natural resource countries in the world. It's kind
mhm.
of like these African countries that get pillaged as well, um, because they just get taken advantage of because they don't have a military or anything. So Pierre wants to bring back a military, which like I would serve, dude. If Pierre
Yeah.
gets elected, I would serve.
So you guys don't currently have military, like what is the military situation right now?
I don't know. Like I don't know what to believe because like Trudeau started saying like we actually do have a military, but like meanwhile, like most of our jets just got sent to Ukraine, and like I haven't seen anything. Like I see
Like you don't
peace
know any,
officers
like
that
I
have
could name
batons.
10
Like
guys off the top of my head I know that are serving right now that I went to school with, but you don't
yeah,
have that kind of
I know
experience.
I know one guy who has served and one guy who's serving, but
Mhm.
like I don't think they've ever gone abroad or anything or like or done like real like I don't know, they just do like paintball pizza parties. Like I don't know. I don't want to disrespect it,
All
but like
pizza
I
parties. Yeah.
don't know much about it being like a force. I mean, what I see on TikTok and what I learned in social studies, which is like all of that is aimed to should be well rightfully aimed to create patriots, which now it's not anymore. Now it's aimed to make people hate our country. Like it was, dude. It was a thing 3 years ago or 4 years ago because my ex girlfriend was more of a socialist, um, and so that's my fault. But so it was she made it a thing because I was like Canada Day, and I was wearing like my Canadian T-shirt because I was like Canada Day, let's get it. And
Yeah.
she was like, you can't wear that today, and I was like, why? And she's just like, because today we're like remembering the native people that we killed like 100 years ago. And I was like, bitch, it's Canada Day. I'm trying to sell you with my boys. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. What?
so it's like
Interesting.
Canada just
Okay.
hates itself and is in this like cycle of like shame and guilt that it's created
Mhm.
for no reason. And then people are like, are we done apologizing for things that every other country has done? Can we move on and think that the past is the past and just be better and then like
Yeah.
create a better military, create a better economic system?
Create the new world,
But
dude.
yeah,
This is the
exactly.
new generation, man. It's like
Exactly.
I understand, it's the same thing here in the States. Like I understand, like especially my parents, like their biggest thing with me is like, oh, we have 55 years experience. And my caveat to that is always, okay, but the world has changed faster in the last 5 years than it did the 30 before that.
Yep.
So there's a great book I had to read in college and I can't remember the name of it, unfortunately, but it talked about how fast the world was developing. And
Yep.
that really kind of put it in my perspective that like with the new technology every year,
Yep.
like the amount of productivity that used to take 25 years, we're doing in 5. And every year it's like almost 5 to 10xing. And now with AI, I mean, I can only imagine, you
Oh,
know,
dude, it's wild.
like Google's talking about, I saw a video today of the Google founder, and he was talking about, or the Google CEO, and he was talking about how they just developed technology to where, you know, you can put on, basically you go on Google Maps and you want to take a bike ride through New York City, and you can basically have the whole bike ride right in front of your face and time what the traffic's going to look like and what the weather's going to be like and what the best route is to take before you even leave. And it's like, I know you kind of hit on teleportation there before, but it's like the gap between getting to experience that and then just kind of like falling right into that is like, it just doesn't seem very wide anymore. So like, I'm really curious what's going to happen in the next 5 years. I like to take a positive approach to it. I really think like we're headed to a better place with AI. I think it's going to be, it's going to work wonders for the healthcare system. I think it's going to work wonders for, you know, as long as, like we kind of hit on, as long as the, you know, government can relinquish their power and, you know, regulation on everything, then I think, you know, it opens the door for creativity. I think there's no longer like, you have this good idea, you can realistically kind of go into open AI and start brainstorming that idea with like a quote unquote expert, and not saying they're an expert, but they have, you know, they're built with the data of everything of 2021, experts. You know, like on. So like, you know, I almost like that, you know, it can't go super far back, but it can say, hey, the new world, 2020, we got 2021 data. It's 2021, 24, you know, like these things will start to line up. So, but yeah, man, I really, first off, really appreciate you coming on. I think it's gonna be a great episode. I know we had talked about a few things we're going to go over kind of in our notes before, and you touched on MMGA. Now that, to my understanding, just since I've been following you on Instagram, is that a newer thing? Can you take me to the root of MMGA?
Yeah. I'll take you to the root of it. So it stands for Make Men Godly Again. So it's a spin on Make America Great Again, but it's like, for what I believe is like the truest thing. If we want to make something great again, we got to make the men great again, but we got to make the men godly again, because that's real manliness, is accountable men who are here to protect other people, who are here to provide for their families, and who are here to kind of preside and lead prayer and like lead real like Christian households, because that's how I was raised, and that's what I believe in as well. So and that kind of, we've also had some people interested in it from like Islam and Buddhism, like just like returning to good values. So if we can agree upon values, I think that's the best place to start. And then we agree upon those values starting with the backbone of the future of society, which is the young men. So we see young men get caught up in Tateism and get caught up in like, it's their own echo chambers, where you get caught up in the hedonistic view of things as well. Like Tate's like, I'm gonna give you a pill to escape into these other addictions of sex, of money, of, I mean, he doesn't really promote drugs that much, but drinking, whatever. It's like, what if he gave people a pill of like the family pill, or the love pill, or like the godly man pill? So that's the angle. And then how I came up with it was, I led a Bible study. This is really cool. It looks like the snow is kind of coming up.
Yeah, this is sick. Are you inside or outside?
No, I'm outside, but somehow like the Zoom is making it look really interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I came up with the idea because I led a Bible study last September to December of 2023. In that Bible study, I became saved because I like reborn. I was reborn as a Christian because I was in this position of like teaching people the Gospels and the Word. Meanwhile, I was still hadn't laid aside my greed or my selfishness or my own weapons of pride and stuff like that. And then I was co-leading, and as I asked questions and answered questions as honestly as I could, I realized that I needed to be saved and reborn. So I then got baptized in January, and then I had this idea. I wanted to lead another small group, but I was like, these small groups are all so fluffy. People just sit around in a circle and talk, and all the guys, I can tell the guys are bored out of their minds, but their girlfriends are dragging them there, or they just feel like they're going out of duty. So I was like, what if I made a small group that was really for the guys? And so I came up with the name Make Men Godly Again. And what the small group consists of is 12 weeks of like a brotherhood and leadership development program. So it's very much similar to the Dale Carnegie course. If you've ever read How to Win Friends and Influence People, I actually took his course twice and then had an offer to coach it because like it's the best leadership course still
I didn't
to this
even know
day.
he had a course, so I'll
Yeah,
definitely we'll talk after this, but
absolutely.
I'll link it in the description if anyone wants to
Yeah,
check that out. It's
it's in
hands
person
down
for
great
sure.
book. My last
Yeah,
interview we talked about it a lot, and yeah,
absolutely.
that set the tone for me. I read it when I was I think I was 22, and it was kind of, I heard Arlen talk about it actually, and I had just kind of like asked my parents. I was like, "Hey, have you heard of this book?" And my mom's like, "Yeah, dude, like that book's been around since 1930." And I was like, "What?"
Right.
And I was like, "Really?" And then we were like, we're just looking on the bookshelf. She's like, "Honestly, it's probably been passed down in the family. Like a lot of families have it." And I was
Yeah,
like, "Okay." So I just started looking around, and I find this dusty old book, and it's like it's that, and I was like, oh wow, and it just taught me so
yeah,
much. I'm curious to hear your takeaways from it, because I think it's such a good, like, just an easy thing to kind of segue off of. But like the one
yeah,
thing that stood out to me and really iterated the why I guess the podcast saw so much like success, even not from a number standpoint, but just from in
hmm
the way it made me feel, and it
yeah,
made other people feel. And it talked about that feeling of importance. It was like our number one desire in
right.
life as human beings is to feel important. And the
Yeah,
more you, and it seems like such a simple thing that you can give to someone, to just like, you could do that by just listening to them. You could do that just by, sending them a new connection, or,
yeah,
introducing them to someone. And I was like, you know what? That's why this is received so well, because you just get to
yeah,
sit down, hear someone's story. They don't always get to talk about it, and then, just you remember these conversations a lot,
yeah,
and
dude.
so that was my biggest takeaway from it. But yeah, what's been your biggest takeaway either from the course or from the book itself?
Yeah, so I'll just give a little bit more info for
Yeah,
the viewers is that the course is in person, but they have like chapters across North America. So you
cool.
can, most major cities will have this one that you can sign up for.
Hmm.
And then also, fun fact, do you know who Warren Buffett is?
Hmm.
Yeah, so he has none of his degrees or anything on his wall. He just has the Dale Carnegie certificate in his office as the thing that he's most proud of
Wow.
for taking the actual course. So yeah, the number one thing is just like it does have a lot of details that like are really important, but it's like if you are a genuine person who cares about other people, everything should come naturally. Um, so for example, like obviously this is a podcast, so it's a little bit different, but letting the other person speak more than you do, and really because you care, because you want them to, because you're interested in them, and then you want them to feel heard, you want them to feel seen. So it's like doing things because you genuinely care. Now, the one thing I will say is don't do this to an extent of sacrificing your own boundaries. So if you're in a conversation with someone and you just want to make them feel super important, well, maybe you want to get something across yourself too, because you have your own boundaries. And if you end up talking only for 2 minutes of a 2 hour conversation, it could have been great. And maybe the person feels like they loved you, but it could also be a waste of your time. So it's finding that balance between your own boundaries and being a really charismatic person. Because charisma, I believe, is probably the number one life skill
Mhm.
besides like hard work, like the less foundational one. I think charisma is probably the number one life skill that you could have.
Mm. Yeah, 100%. That's a great point. I like that you hit on that, especially because there are people, they'll consume that and then they'll become, a people pleaser of sort. And I use that
Hmm.
term lightly because I think, some of the most successful people in the world, they would consider themselves quote unquote people pleasers, but at the same time, they got to where they're at because, like you said, they were able to establish those boundaries. And I think it's healthy to kind of experience it at both extremes.
Yeah,
If you don't know what balance is, then you kind of find it by,
yeah,
okay, well, I'm just going to go all in being this, and then I'm going to see how that starts to shape out. And like you said, you'll probably start to get those either resistance or those feelings of like, okay, I need to share more,
right.
incorporate myself a little bit more into
Yeah,
this. And then, like you said, that balance starts to create itself.
I love
Um,
riding extremes, man.
yeah, riding
Like being
extremes.
on two sides of things, like extreme. I had one pop into mind while you're talking, but just like yeah,
Yeah.
you can be on the extreme people pleasing and then extreme like boundary setting, or extreme discipline and then extreme like chaos. Or with women, like I think you shouldn't do this on purpose, but if you've experienced more like an extreme nice guy and then maybe you're more of an asshole, you can feeling those two things. If you never feel both sides, you don't know where you fit. So I think that you need to go to those ends at some point in order to find where your most authentic self is in between those ends.
100%. And I definitely want to like kind of open up a little bit here, but like, yeah, I think especially as guys, how old are you, man? Just curious.
Dude, I'm 21.
21. All right. So I'm
Yeah.
23. A lot of the guys, a lot of people watching this, girls and guys, they're 18 in that 18 to 30
Okay.
range. And, like I always say, we had 17 years as a kid and then we're expected to just have it all figured out at
Yeah.
18, or we kind of think
Yeah.
that. And, it's when it comes to relationships, it's like, you don't know what it feels like to, let's call it, a one night stand, let's call it, just hooking up culture, let's call it hookup culture. For us, we have the term the F-boy stage,
Yeah.
where you kind of just are like, and it gets this negative connotation, but I think it turns in some of these guys that come out of it and become aware of it, like I'm sure me and you have and have gone through, like it turns you have to kind of go through those phases to understand that that's not what you want, or to understand, like you said, to feel the pain of, somebody thinking you thought they were important. And then like, it doesn't feel good to hear that, they feel like you treated them like shit, and you don't want to feel that again. But if you're just hearing it, and you're just like still living in your own world, and then like you mentioned, maybe you have the nice guy syndrome and you've only always been the nice guy, which again, nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, like the reason, you're not, I guess, the reason you may be taking these things so hard when these girls leave you, XYZ, is just, again, you're only feeling it from one side. You don't know what is like kind of going through on the other end. So it's like, have those experiences, like you said, ride the highs, ride the lows, take everything as it comes, and, try to learn as much as you can. And it just makes you so much better, man. Like, going down, it kind of comes back to that root of like, once you're broken down to absolute ground zero, like everything after that starts to open up when you accept that you were at ground zero, or you accept that you did something wrong. It's like a lot of people in our generation, I think they ignore acceptance and they distract themselves from acceptance. So can you take me back to maybe a time you don't mind sharing, maybe from your earlier years, or maybe it's recently, where, you kind of felt one of those triggers, I guess?
Kind of like having to accept that I was at zero, or
Kind of, yeah, just like accepting you needed to change. I think until you really accept, like, change really doesn't happen until you're honest with yourself, is kind of where I am going here.
Yeah.
And take your time, no worries.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, two stories that would be like with women, and one was just like with myself. So I'll go into the one with myself just to save some privacy there.
Yeah.
So in September of 2022, I'm just gonna be careful of like how much detail I share, but like, so I ended up having like a health crisis, you could call it that. Ended up in the hospital for about 30 days for some reasons, and was not healthy. Was drugged up on something called olanzapine, which the average person on that drug gains between like 40 to 60 pounds. That's, I'm pretty sure, something similar to what Kanye was on when Kanye got drugged up. So there's a little bit of an Easter egg kind of why some things might be similar there. But yeah, so when that happened, I was living at the time with two roommates, Sebastian and Tyler. And I know Sebastian's been on the podcast here, Sebastian Lind on Instagram. And so that happened. I got pulled out of all my classes because I was in the hospital for 30 days. At that time, I was at university. And then I had some money that I saved from the previous summer doing door-to-door, but not a lot, because that summer I tried to operate my business like a 4-hour work week. And then I also just didn't clue in that I should be like checking my P&L every day. I was like, oh, my metric is working 4 hours. I worked 4 hours this week. That means it was a success. Meanwhile, like, I wasn't making that much money. So my cash, like, I was kind of running out of money. I had some in like a savings account, which I haven't touched my whole life, which is like, so I'm like, I have a rule, like, I don't touch this. So I was like, starting to run out of money. And then I was also getting fat, and I was sleeping like 16, 18 hours a day on this drug. and just medicated, and it sucked. And so I just got a job doing junk removal. So it's like the most humiliating labor job you can do. I don't see it as humiliating. I don't see any job as humiliating because it's all work, and every man should be able to just be able to work in whatever circumstance they can. But it wasn't even like a real construction job. It was just like moving to like hoarders' houses or people who got evicted or people who died and moving all their gross stuff. And then on top of that, dealing with all of the like spiritual attacks of like being inside people, like haunted houses of people who had died, or like this negative energy of people who had been living there and got evicted. So like then like trying to shower every night, like cleansing myself of that like negative energy that I was like kind of latching onto me, while like I was already filled with so much negative energy from the drugs I was on and everything. So during that time, I don't know what made the actual switch flipped. I think it was just when the spring came, like just it felt like there was a new beginning. But honestly, a lot of it was just Sebastian. Well, it was a little bit more than that. So Seb would like, I love him for this, and like I'll continue to write about it and say this on podcasts. Is like he would get me out, take me to work out, even though I couldn't like lift like 15 pounds for my bicep curls. My whole body was just weak. He would take me to like the cafes we used to go work at, and he was just there for me. So that helped me hang on. That didn't help me flip the switch, but that helped me hang on. And then the actual switch kind of flipped. Honestly, not fully until like the summer of 2023 was cool. I ran the business, made a lot of cash, but the actual flip didn't switch until I got baptized, because I was still on different drugs, getting fat. Was still fat like 5 months ago from today, and then I just went on this spiritual journey, and then it was just this spiritual journey of giving up all these things. Like I literally I gave up in my mind, I gave up my entrepreneurial dream, and was like decided I would go to like what's it called, like Christian college to be a youth pastor. That's what I thought I was gonna do, but like I just had to give that up in my mind so that God could see me at a full state of surrender. And then once he saw me at the full state, he started filling me back up with these things. But it wasn't until I gave up everything and then I realized that like I needed to change. And it wasn't I need to change as in like, oh, my habits are bad, I need to change my habits. It was like I needed to change the way my heart posture. So like my heart had to do a 180 to saying like I'm not doing everything for me anymore. I'm doing things out of servitude. So whatever I'm doing is to serve God, and in turn serve other people through the projects that I create. It's no longer this self-serving like me. I wanted to get this by this dollar per month by this month, like all this stuff. My heart posture really had to change, and now I just walk so much more confidently, so much more lightly, just have a higher spirit, and my energy is just way different. Like I'm sure you feel it on this call, and just also like through my interactions with people. Like people don't recognize me anymore, because I do want to finish my degree so that I can serve in the Air Force, hopefully for someone who I want to serve for. But so I'm kind of going back to, I'm at uni a few times a week, and people see me there and they don't recognize me at all. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, is that you?" And girls that like wouldn't even talk to me 2 years ago are like eyeing me down, checking me out. It's like, I mean, maybe that's just the effect of being a handsome Chad, but like,
Yeah.
no, but it really is the spirit, man. It's the spirit that like it's the fruits of the spirit. And when my heart posture changed, man, my whole life did a 180, and everything feels blessed. Every day above the ground feels like a blessing, and I'm just walking in way more gratitude, and it's a beautiful thing. And if I didn't have Seb, man, I don't know if I'd be here being able to say this. So I'm extremely grateful for him as well.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That's why I love to like try to really like get down to the roots of everything, because everything you hit on there's so many people watching this, myself included, hearing you say that, where in the same boat, man. Like
Yeah.
literally, not even, you talked about giving up the entrepreneurial dream, dude. I take you back to a time I was trying to run my business in college, also trying to be a college athlete, and I was never really finding alignment and seeing consistency with either. And, the last year I decided, I'm graduating a year early. I want to enjoy my college experience. I'm just going to not run track. And I kind of thought by not running track, like all these opportunities would open up for the business, and I would just go gun ho, Gary Vee style, like lay it all on the line, don't have a second job, like just go after it and try to start this agency. And so May I had graduated, and I was like, all right, I have a year to kind of survive on my own in South Florida, which if you don't know anything about South Florida, it's not very cheap place to live. But I wanted to be there for my buddies and watch them graduate. And that was a big role for me. But also, I wanted to put myself back up against the wall and see if I could really do this. And, throughout that year, it was like the next May rolled around, and this is, May 2023. So pretty recently. And like you had hit on, like I had been so focused on have to hit 10K a month to prove it to my parents, have to hit this to prove it to this person, have to prove it to myself, like these things. And like you had just hit on and kind of helping me realize even now, those were self-serving affirmations. Those were self-serving things I was trying to do. It's like, no shit, it didn't work in 12 months. Like no, because every day I woke up just writing, I'm going to make, I want to make $100,000 a year, blah, blah, blah. Like, and instead of being like now the language and like you hit on heart posture, which I think is awesome, like has changed consistently where I'm just more, I want to help as many people as I can experience the positive attitude that I think I've always had in the back of my mind and always had access to. And I need to do that. I need to give them the most authentic version of me. But to become the most authentic version of me, I really have to be honest with where I'm at. I can't be telling people I'm making all this money or doing these things just because it makes my ego feel good. Because then when I was sitting down to do the work, just like you said, those doors weren't opening because I was lying to myself and I was lying to the people around me about what was going on. And so like, while I don't regret that year I took, like I built great relationships, friends that I want my kids to meet, like all positive things. And I learned about what it would take to kind of run a business without a second job and XYZ. But what it ultimately led to was that May coming around being like, all right, well, I missed rent a couple times, that last year that I was living there, just pure, I have an opportunity here at 23 years old to, go home and ground myself and just forget all the fluff from South Florida and just, hone in on me and like get back to my roots. And so I just, I texted my parents. I said, hey, this just isn't working the way I expected it to. I know you guys encouraged me to do this last year, but I had to see it for myself. And, I'm going to come home and I'm going to take a break from, the business. And I'm just going to get a regular, job, in the service hospitality industry. And, I'm going to save up money, pay off my debt, and just try to find out what I'm really supposed to be doing. And, within, I ended up kind of going back and forth and then ultimately settled in by August. And from August to November, I really wasn't doing much business stuff. I was working for Marriott hotels, doing events and everything like that. And I'm still on like a contract with them to where I can work a couple events a month if I want to. And it was like by doing that, by like the first job I actually got when I came home was building fences. So you hit on junk removal. I was out there, 80-degree heat. My buddy owned a fencing company. Shout out Rylan. I can't thank you enough because, 5 days a week, I used to tell him 5 days a week doing this feels like 10 years off my life. Like I was making decent money, but like, this is hard. This is hard work. And this is what happens, but it forced me to be honest with myself, sitting there in 95-degree heat being like, is this really what you want every single day, man? Like, so
that'll put a fire under your butt and make you rethink.
Definitely did, dude. And then, I started going after what I was passionate about. And I was like, you know what? I love doing the podcast. I'm an expert at LinkedIn. I worked at a LinkedIn startup that maybe didn't go the way I expected it to that year I was down there in South Florida. But, all things considered, I learned a lot. And I just started honing in on that. I was like, it's okay to be the LinkedIn guy for a little bit. It's okay to be the podcast guy for a little bit. It made me feel good. And I didn't feel like I was lying to anyone or myself anymore. And in this last, which I want to get into, because I know, God has played such a big role in your life, by January, I had been having these thoughts of just, that's kind of what's missing in my life is I grew up, pretty seriously Catholic and going to church every single Sunday. And, everything like that, but I don't think I ever honestly built my relationship with God. I think it was fed to me.
Yeah.
And that's a common theme in our tradition, as I'm sure
Yeah.
where like we get confirmed in 8th grade, like
Yeah.
13 years old, you're supposed to have this relationship built with God, and you don't really even understand who he is yet.
And it follows such a structure and a duty. It doesn't follow like your own heart and when
Your
your
own
heart
heart.
is ready for it.
Exactly. Yeah. So where did, I kind of want to use that to segue in, whether it's a testimony or whether, wherein did you start to see God as this super important figure in your life, and like kind of what is that, how has that process been?
Yeah, because I cried out to God because
Me
I thought
too.
I was going to die. Yeah, like right before my health crisis. So basically what happened was I had extreme amount of stress in my life. Had like some family members um, having bad health. I had some family members' relationships kind of falling apart. And then I also had my business. And then at the end of the summer, and I kind of owed some people money, and I was also just moved into a new place, which is the first time moving out from home. And then I also was in 5 classes, which is like a full-time course load. So I was doing all that, and then I stopped sleeping, and then I went to Toronto because like I was like, this is like, I hate this. I'm gonna just run away. So I ran away for 3 days, and of course my problems are gonna get worse by the time I get back. So while I was gone, I went on a 120-kilometer bike ride, which like shut down my central nervous system. And I came back, still had all this stress, was barely going to classes, was barely sleeping, barely eating. I lost like 15 pounds over the course of like a week and a half or something crazy, like 10 pounds over the course of a week and a half. And I was just not healthy. I wasn't sleeping. And then I was like, basically just gave up. And not to mention, I took mushrooms because I was like, maybe I'll get some insight that will help me. Dude, I was just like, because I had this habit of like never asking for help. So like, because I didn't ask for help, I basically went to bed the final night. I felt my whole body shutting down. Yeah, I really did. I went to bed at like 3 a.m. And I just cried out to God saying like, will you like save me? Because I think I'm going to die and I'm not going to call. I wasn't thinking straight either. I had probably probably the average of like 2 to 3 hours of sleep over the past 4 days. And like, I wasn't thinking straight. So this is like what the health crisis was because I wasn't like thinking straight, and then my whole body, and this whole thing, the doctors couldn't really figure everything out. So yeah, then I went to bed and I basically cried out saying like, God, if you're real, will you just save my life? Because I think I'm going to die. And then I went to bed, and for 3 hours I was unconscious, but I lost my memory for 3 hours. I don't remember what happened, but I had like, we had this chalkboard wall. I drew this whole like a mural. It was really, really weird. Like I was just like not thinking straight. I was like unconscious. It was like this whole thing. Like I lost all, what's it called? Like mode or like over my body, or like capability to control my body or my mind. I just like lost consciousness because I like either dying and then or whatever happened. And then while I was unconscious, I texted the only pastor I've ever had in my contacts. He was one of those street pastors who like will talk to you on the street and then try and get your phone number. So I was just always friendly with him. So I got his phone number. I've never texted him before. I texted him when I was like unconscious, I assume, saying, "Can you come to my house? Here's my address. Please come soon." And then I probably fell asleep at some point for like an hour and a half. I wake up at 6 a.m. and because he's knocking on the door. So he's knocking on the door. I open the door. I went to sleep at 3. So again, like I just got no sleep. But he's like, let me pray for you. Like I came here, like I have some sort of feeling that like just God is really working in your life right now, or you need God or something like that. And I was just like, wow, because like my whole life was crumbling before me, and it caused me to lose my sense of self and to kind of lose myself, lose my mind basically as well. And then he was like, yeah, you should probably, like, I'm going to pray for your family and go home. So I drove home, and then my parents called the hospital because I was a little bit out of it. And I was just going through these massive fevers and then fevers and chills, while like not acting 100% normal because I hadn't had sleep and had mushrooms recently, and I was just like my brain couldn't handle what was going on as well with all the stress. So then but that is when I was like, okay, God saved my life. Like I should not have been alive that morning. Like there's no way. What all that my body had gone through, like my central nervous system as well, I should not have been alive. And the fact that then because of like the brain scans and what had happened to my brain, um, I should have had like a very high percentage of falling into schizophrenia for the rest of my life, like 50% chance. So like and then I took all these tests, these neuropsych tests, and I came up with like the best test they had ever seen. So it was like that's in itself is an entire miracle too. The fact that I'm here talking like a normal dude, and the fact that these like neuropsych tests have like I got like similar results to like a medical student, which is just like especially after what my brain had went through. So that both of those are just like miracles that I can't explain, that like the doctors haven't been able to explain, and just like prove my belief that like God still works miracles. Like people are like, yeah, God's still here, but like he's chilling. But it's like no, like God is here working miracles. You just don't hear about it all the time. But like truly, truly worked one in my life, and I'm incredibly blessed.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I'm so glad you shared that because again, like it's like I don't think people let themselves get to that point. And I remember a distinct time when I was like, it was the first time, and this takes you back to May, where I'd been trying to build this business since I was 18 years old. So no matter what it looked like, I was always going to I always was the entrepreneur kid, and I was so attached to this identity. Like I just had to make it work. And it was the first time where like, for some reason I had brainwashed myself into thinking if you have to go home, it means you fail. And I felt sick to my stomach because I felt that this is the first time I've considered quitting. And like, again, you talk about that blur moment where I'm sitting in my, bedroom and I'm crying out to God and I'm really just telling him like, look, man, I really can't take any more punches. Like I really I need you to save me. And I really need you to, just open my eyes to like everything that's going on, or help me find purpose and why all this is happening. And it was like, I get those pits in my stomach, and then I just kind of like black out, and I wake up and I'm like,
dang, dude,
what are you like? No, this is okay. This is where you've been pulled this entire time. The reason maybe things aren't going your way is because maybe you do need to go home, and maybe you've had this in the back of your head and you kept ignoring it. Like, maybe it was the day a year earlier that I had that first thought, oh, should I go home and just try to like, can I like do this? And it was just like, no, so just like go. And then that was like immediately like, all right, I'm making plans. I'm letting my friends know I'm not going to be renewing my lease. Like I have to get home and just see why is he pulling me home?
Dude.
Why is he pulling me to this place? And
he will pull you, and then that resistance, it's like you have to go to the flow. You were talking before about like just like forcing yourself. I forget in what context, but like if we're forcing ourselves to do things, forcing ourselves for that business for so many years, you're interrupting the flow of what God wants to do in your life. He's saying like, my child, like I have great things for you, because he is a loving father. Like there's a verse where it's like, I'm going to paraphrase. I hate paraphrasing, but it's like God wants the best things for his children. He's a loving father. And don't you think that a father would know what his child wants? Like God knows what you want. He knows that you want to be the entrepreneur guy in some form, but he's like, no, let me take you the route that I want to take you. It's going to look different, but like he knows the end destination. He knows where you want to be, and he's going to take you through a more magical journey anyways. It's just going to make you trust him more. It's going to make you have more faith. So he knows what you want, and he'll start bringing those blessings into your life. And I'm sure you've already seen some of it, and it comes with so much brighter color than you would have expected in your own vision board, and it comes with so much more vividness. But that's exactly it. If you're swimming upstream, it's easier just to float downstream, right? And that's the flow that God wants to take you on, and paddle hard downstream. Go even faster when you're with the flow. Go hard. Yeah. So that's what he wants for us. Absolutely, man.
That's awesome, man. I now just kind of scrolling through just to okay, yeah, sweet. So we've hit on the God thing, and it's obviously helped shape both of our perspectives. And you hit on a couple things when we were talking, of how you've explored, the Christian perspectives on wealth building, women. I think we've talked on the mental health side a little bit, but when it comes to those things, wealth. Let's start right there. With wealth
dude.
building. A lot of entrepreneurs watching this. Can you take me through
it's a funny
that
thing
perspective?
because there's a subservient attitude of most Christians, which I don't agree with. It's like they're being subservient to the church, and in turn,
What does subservient mean? Not to interrupt you.
Subservient is like beneath a master, basically.
Okay.
So seeing the church as your master, and then seeing the people who speak at your church as your masters, and taking this like docile view of how you're going to act on your life. So because you're subservient, you're not going to take massive action towards your goals or massive action towards your wealth goals. Like me and Seb both talk about, we are here not to be poor so that we can get to heaven, because like that's not actually what it's trying to say, but it's like we're here to build Christ's kingdom. So how do we build Christ's kingdom? Well, a kingdom has wealth, a kingdom has a fortress, it has godly men, godly women, it has families, it has nuclear families. Like that's what a kingdom has. So like we're here to try to build Christ's kingdom on. So with that comes wealth and wealth building, because like Jewish people know this. Jewish people are great at building wealth, and like just in their philosophy and how they act. But for some reason, Christian people forget that Adam was laboring the land 6 days a week and only took 1 day of rest. He was laboring, like he was doing hard work 6 days a week. And like now we do that and we get paid. He just did it because he wanted to serve God. So like we should even do it without getting paid, trying to work. Like if we don't have a job, okay, how can you labor hard for 14, 16 hours a day without a job? Like that's God honoring work. Even if you're not getting paid, if it's just like renovating your house, that's God honoring work. So it's like,
for a reason.
Yeah, and volunteering. Like we should be hard workers. So it's like, yeah, trying to get over this like sloth and gluttony and these like 7 deadly sins that the Catholics lay out, so that we can build Christ's kingdom. Because if we had all these God honoring, God fearing men working 14 hours a day for 6 days, and they're actually like, they're also intelligent, so they understand, are they working for the right people? Are these people money laundering crooks, or are they actually like godly companies? Like we would totally change culture. So that's what I want to do, is I want to like instill with these brotherhood and leadership development programs like a certain sense of ethics and values, and also like like instilling in these young guys what they will not tolerate. Like there's certain things I will never tolerate again in my life. Like I will never tolerate another lockdown. I'll never tolerate like a disrespectful partner, because I won't be a disrespectful partner. So with that backbone being built, I just think it's going to really change culture and change like accountability of how, because now it's like we cancel people, but we should hold people accountable. There's the difference. So so I think that I forget your exact question, but it ties back, right, to building Christ's kingdom. Like we build wealth because we're here to create a better world, and you need money to do it, and you'd rather have godly, accountable people with the money than evil cabal who just wants to sell their soul to Satan.
Yeah, and there's a great frame on this because I think when people hear the word wealth, their mind goes to money, and
it's just abundance of everything.
Right, it's an abundance of everything, and when you break down the word, like it's like health and wellness.
Yeah,
right. Like it's like if in those, and there's not in any bit of health and wellness do you see, like, money does not come to mind when you kind of think about that. You start thinking about the things that make you feel good, and when you're relating it from the Christian perspective, a lot of things that make us feel good are serving others. And of course, the more you serve others, the more you're going to hit on that wellness side, you're also going to feel healthier. Those are healthier habits than previous ones. Like we talked about, and you're, making men godly again. I think the physique plays a role in that, being a protector, right?
Yeah.
Like
drop physique.
Yeah.
They always say drop physique. It's so funny.
Yeah, 100%. Like job physique. And that can mean exactly like if you're being the best version of you and you're serving others, I think naturally you're going to naturally be in just better shape. You're going to want to, go to the gym with the boys because you know that you're both in there getting better. I always say, if you're having trouble surrounding yourself with the right people or the right environments, it's like you have to pick up the gym habit because every single time you walk in there, everyone around you, whether they want to admit it or not, is in there to try to get better. 99% of them, I would say.
Yeah.
Not the high school kids hanging out at the bench. But even then, I'd rather have the high school kids hanging out at the bench chit-chatting than in the mall smoking pot, 4 days a week.
Absolutely, bro.
Right?
Absolutely.
So like I also don't like when people like, ridicule people like, oh, they're not doing anything in the gym or they're not running that much or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, dude, the point is that they're trying. And the point is that they're trying to better themselves. And the point is that they're not doing the millions of other options they have to make themselves feel good. Right? Like, these are, so I really like that. I think wealth is just such a much bigger picture. And when they always say, the less you are attached to the, say, financial abundance in your life, the more it tends to flow to you because that means you're focused on the other components of it. You're focused on the serving, you're focused on getting better,
Yeah. I have a question for you. Like, so I'm not very tapped in with like 15 to 17-year-old male culture right now. Like maybe a little bit, but because I have like a 17-year-old guy that I mentor, but he's just different. He's built different.
Yeah.
But like those like high school kids hanging around on the bench, like what's the current pulse on them? Like, of course, I'm a natural optimist, but like, are you bullish on this current 16-year-old guys? Is it better than our generation? Is it worse? Like, what's your thought on that? If you've seen more than I have.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I've got a younger brother, so I'm 4 years older than him. He's just turned 19 in August. This past August, currently playing college baseball, and I watched him go through. I was a senior when way our education system works. I was a senior when he was a freshman, so it was my fourth year at the high school right before we head off to college, and he was a freshman, so I got like kind of interlooped with his friends, just more or less, and even more kind of post high school. And the toughest thing for me is that these kids get exposed to social media and giving a shit about what people think so early. Whereas like I didn't get my first phone till I was 16, and I had friends that had them at 12 years old, but it wasn't super common. But now it's like I walk around even when I was, serving at the restaurant and stuff, and like I see 8-year-olds with like iPhones, and I see 10-year-olds on Instagram, and I see 14-year-olds on Instagram, which is like, okay, it's not the end of the world, but the problem is I know they're not mature enough. Like I didn't even get mature enough until really the last like 2-3 years of the content I'm watching affects my life. And I know that awareness is just, you can't have that built yet. Because while their parents are younger than my parents for sure, even their parents are still a hell of a lot older than me, and they still didn't have to experience what it's like to have people putting hate comments on your post at 13, right? They don't know what it's like to be watching 20,000 other people who are telling you they haven't made. And, the way the algorithms work, they're showing you, if you're 14, they're showing you the 17-year-old millionaire, and now you feel like shit because like you don't think you're doing anything with your life. And I'm like, bro, you don't even have permission to do anything with your life yet. Like, relax. Like, it's going to be okay. The biggest thing I'd like to say to these kids is like, it's going to be okay, but the quicker that you can become aware of how your environment is affecting your thoughts, and that includes the content you're consuming, the more peaceful and the happier, you're going to be. So, when I walk around the gym and I see some of these high school kids hanging out, it's like, it's a lot of heads down on the phone. And it's interesting because I think they're in a better place for success in the sense that there are younger, like that killer you're talking about that's 17. Like there are the 18-year-olds, I was one of the few entrepreneurs in my high school, but then after I started doing entrepreneurial stuff, I started watching everyone else pop up with businesses. And like, I thought that was so cool because I was like, oh, they're kind of taking this from, I almost thought like they were kind of taking it from me. And I think they have a lot more opportunities to learn from guys closer to their age that can relate to them. It's just going to be a matter of if they're willing to take those opportunities. And that I think is still a little yet to be seen. I think the quicker that they can all get on this page of being around the right people, they don't necessarily need to now take advice at 17 from a 40-year-old. They can be 17 and look at 21, 23-year-old guys like us that have been doing stuff pretty consistently over the last couple of years and be like, okay, so that life is possible, and it is normal to be mature at my age, because when I was coming up, it was awkward and I was made fun of, and how dare you try to start a business at 18? You don't even have any experience, blah blah blah, right? Like, but I had just consistently been like, I'm trying, people are going to learn from my failures, and hopefully that 16-year-old kid that's doubting himself right now, sees this and understands that, again, like we said, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So, I would say it's a hard question to answer. It's a good question, but I think they have more opportunities than anyone. I think the technology around them makes it easier than ever. But I don't want to like frame that like I have in the past, being like, oh, it's so easy to get rich now. No, it's just you have more opportunity, but you still have to do the self-work like we talked about. You still have to not get attached to the big picture like I did, kind of focusing on like I thought it had to look exactly like my vision board, and I thought it all was supposed to look like this, and because it wasn't, I was blaming all these other things, or I was running from it. And so I hope that they understand the opportunities are there, but I hope they don't lose sight that it is still on them, and it is still going to be a matter of, carrying yourself and educating yourself and getting around positive people. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. There's always going to be like I say, the 1% do what 99% don't, and the 0.01% do what even the 1% aren't willing to do. So if everyone's doing it, it's probably not in alignment with where you want to go. If all your buddies are just getting high after practice, but the guys that that you're looking up to aren't, then you probably need to start habit stacking the things that those guys are doing, and not what your buddies are doing because you feel accepted. I think, and like we hit on the social media thing, it causes these kids to feel like they're not accepted because they see all these other people at different levels, and that's where it gets tough for me. I think social media's got its perks, but it's also got its dangers as far as the youth is getting exposed so young.
I think social media should be like alcohol and weed. Like they should have a legal age for it.
Florida just approved a law where no 14-year-old, you have to be at least 15 years old now to have an Instagram account. That's kind of what.
Yeah, that's sick. That's
I love it. I absolutely love it. DeSantis, like, I say what you want about him. I think he's done a great job here, and everything he said he's going to do, he's done.
That's great.
And, he implemented an initiative working with the mayor of Miami, actually, where these kids in impoverished neighborhoods or lower class, levels in, South Florida's got some of the roughest school districts in the state, but they set them up with savings accounts now as soon as they get into kindergarten. So they have like a little, I'm not sure how it totally works, but Florida's investing money into savings accounts and then teaching financial literacy as early as they can, so that these kids no longer see money as like, an obstacle, or they look at their parents who put them in this situation for better or worse, in these rough schools, and they don't get consumed that that's going to be their future too. They have this blanket, of like, hey, it's going to be okay. We've set up this savings account for you. You need to learn financial literacy and how to, grow it, but you're not in the same place your parents were when they were, in second grade. You have different opportunities than they did. And the quicker you become aware of that, I think just the better off, they're going to be.
Just get a bunch of grade 2 children buying crypto.
Yeah, right. Like let's start like giving them some Bitcoin. I mean, like
Yeah.
I don't. That's another one. I'm bought into Bitcoin, but I'm not like, again, it's just like time and a place. We'll see how it plays out.
I'm focused more on cash flow than I am
flow. At the end of the day. Now, Christian perspectives on women. I think I want to talk about relationships on here. I think people, they gravitate when guys our age talk about relationships because the girls want to know what we're thinking, and the guys want to be like, oh, are these thoughts normal? Like, and I find myself doing that. So, I think us both being as close as we are to God, but not being, like as it in at least in also our Catholic faith, saint. We're not saints by any means, but you can still have a Christian perspective when it comes to your approach to relationships and women. And I'm just really, I think you've definitely gone down the rabbit hole a little more than I have. So I'm definitely curious to hear.
For sure. So I love women, bro. Women are amazing. They're a gift for the world. Like, our lives would be so boring. How I see it is, I have this analogy where it's like, guys are like, those things we do in like grade 2 or grade 1 with like, you draw in between the lines with color. So there's like the black lines of like a portrait, and then you draw. So like, guys create this like black lined image, and then the girls fill it in with color, and that brings the beauty. That brings like color into the world. Is women. That. So it's a beautiful thing. I've made mistakes. I've done hooking up, whatever, and occasionally it pops up as a struggle as well. But I think that I think so Christians date to marry and have families, right? But there also is like a fact that like guys do reach their prime later than women do, in terms of the dating market. So when you're a guy between like 28 and 35, you are like way more of a valuable asset in the dating marketplace than if you were like 21, just trying to figure stuff out because you got your career going. You might have your multiple businesses going. So I'll just give you like where I'm at is right now. I am dating to leave both parties better than I found them. So that means dating with like development in mind of like growth, spiritual growth for the both of us. And then that also means respecting purity. So I want to respect purity as much as I can if we're not getting married, and I'll slip and fall. But I do want to do that, especially if I think I'm going to get married maybe when I'm 28. I got 7 years to go of dating. So I love dating. Dating is great, but I date to grow alongside someone else. That's my intention behind it, which has worked. Like, I've grown immensely from the different women that have given me different perspectives, because women are the best at correcting you, right? Mm-hmm. You think like you're with your boys, like, oh, you're a beast, man. Oh, dude, like you're killing it right now. Yeah, and then all of a sudden you eat your food weird, and your girl is like, ew, what are you doing? And you're like, hey, yo, like, chill. Like, they like every little thing they can like correct you. Like, not that they're like naggy or anything, but like girls are just, they have a great sense of when you are not in your masculine energy, and they can pick up on that and signal to you when you're not. And then it's up to you to correct yourself. So yeah, I mean, as a Christian guy right now, I'm dating kind of, it's a combination of girls in my church, outside of my church, depending on the timing. And then with that is keeping a reputation, because like our city is 1 million people, but it feels very small. Everyone kind of knows each other. So making sure that I try to keep a good reputation, and then dating for personal growth for both parties, and respecting purity. And then, kind of holding out for my maturity as well, to continue to kind of go on this exponential curve of higher value, I guess, as other, like, I don't love that language, but like kind of like being a higher value person.
Yeah, I think you hit on a great point there. A couple of things, but the main thing you hit on was, our just we don't reach our full, like, let's say, call it potential for lack of a better term.
That's a better term.
It's hard to like girls want somebody who brings value and experience and into their life. And that's why, you know, you meet a lot of girls that are, you know, 18, 19, 20, 21, and they're always saying, oh, I only date older. And, you know, it's very easy when I was 21 to hear that and be like, God, like that's so annoying. Like, why do you want to date this old man that's 26 and, you know, XYZ? And when I turned 20, honestly, like 22, 23 now, I realized I was like, you know what? The main thing is that provides comfort and sustainability in their life. And as we know, you know, girls are a lot more emotional than we are.
Right.
So they're looking for that person who can, you know, keep their emotions in check and keep, you know, them confident in themselves. And the only way you're going to give them that is if you also have it. So at 20 to 22 or 18 to 22, it's very hard for guys, as much as our ego will blurt it out to the world that we've got it all figured out and that we're this big macho motherfucker. It's like, you know, at the end of the day, look back and be honest with yourself. What have you really done? And I looked at myself in the mirror at 21, 22, and I was like, yeah, man, you've had some great experiences, but like, what value do you bring to the marketplace? Are you really self-confident in what you're doing? Because the reason you don't have a lot of girls in your life, or you haven't, you know, you're not dating, you know, anybody long-term, is a good combination of, they can feel it. Like you said, they know when you've been,
they
know when you've been celibate, right? It's a total, the energy you give off. I don't know what they call it, Fiji or Fiji, or I don't know. There's some like chi.
Yeah, chi.
And I got down this rabbit hole of chi, and as much as it,
tell me more, bro. Like, can you get into the rabbit hole a little bit?
Yeah, dude. Chi is like number one on the top of my list. Like, if you want to attract more women in your life, it won't happen instantly, but it will happen the more you commit yourself to, let's call it abstinence, but really, you know, abstinence, and abstinence is a good word, because it's like, you don't want to like self-pleasure. That ruins your, you know, that can throw off your chi, right? And you don't want to just be having meaningless hookups, because then when the girl that you do actually, oh, this girl's got her stuff together and she's actually down for me, and like, this is super awesome, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But if they can feel that you've got your mind elsewhere, and they can feel that, you know, last week, you know, like whatever, you made some bad, like unhealthy decisions.
Dang, dude.
Those things, I noticed those things start to fall out of place. Like, I had a couple, like I can pinpoint multiple times between 20 and 23 really, where I didn't know why they left. Like, I was like, oh, we had this great thing going. We were talking, we went on a couple of dates, blah, blah, blah. Like, everything seemed good, but then I still let my, you know, man brain get the best of me. And naturally, like, oh, this girl just ghosted me out of nowhere. And it was like, I was trying to find out why. And that kind of led me down the, okay, but you notice, like, when you go like a month abstinent, when you go 2 weeks, oh, these girls are actually looking at me. Like, they're actually like, the chi is like popping right now, and like my skin looks better and I'm in better shape, and you want to go to the gym more, right? So naturally, the more, you know, free testosterone you have rolling around in your body, the more you're going to want to build yourself, right? The more creative you're going to be, the more value you'll start to try to create for the marketplace, and you'll feel good about it, because, you know, just the more you create, the more you go to the gym, the more
for which marketplace, like the business marketplace, or like also the
business and the women. Well, yeah, I would say the career. I think, you know, we kind of had hit on wealth a little bit, but like again, like you talk about like serving, right? So like any form of work, when you're just like releasing every day, you don't want to do the work. Like, come on, dude. You want to sleep all day. You're not cheat up, bro. You just want to like, you want to sleep, and you want to like, you know, whatever. And you think life is good because chemically in your brain, you know, I also read this thing, and I hope the people that hear this do their own research, but you know, the pleasure of, and I think it was more focused on like self-pleasure, that effect on your brain and that dopamine release, that chemical reaction that happens, is more addictive than heroin, and it does more damage to it. Bends there was this diagram, and it was a gray brain, and it showed what happens to your brain during self-gratification, and it shows what happens to your brain when you take a shot of heroin or whatever, however the hell you do it.
Whoa.
And the indent and the dysphoria was bigger with self-gratification than it was with heroin. So it's actually way easier to get addicted to sex and self-pleasure than it is narcotics and like stuff like that.
Dang, dude.
And I think that really kind of flipped the switch for me, where I was like, holy shit. So every time of course it feels good. It's chemically impossible for it not to feel good. Even when you're like,
wow.
I'm not going to, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And then you're going to sleep and you're like, oh, I can't sleep, blah, blah, blah. And then you feel amazing and you feel relaxed. And now you can sleep through the night, but you wake up the next day and the next 2 days are like, gosh, like, why is life so freaking down today? And it's like, you know what, dude? Have you used up like all that energy? Like,
you used your chi, dude. Don't be using your chi for the wrong reasons.
Right, dude. And like another, like, and again, I kind of started down my self-development journey, you know, watching more of like Arlen's stuff. And, you know, I've been in and out with his content, but a few takeaways I did take. And he talked about how, dude, when you like the power we hold as men, like that's the power to create. So imagine like if you have enough power in your body to create another human, then what do you think happens when you just let that build up? You keep that person inside of you, and you keep this like just your most authentic self and your power within you. And then like it's impossible for people not to feel it because you're just so pent up on, we'll call it testosterone, but like you're so like your energy is just so much higher. It's literally the force that's capable of creating another human being. So why would you want to get rid of that? Why would you want to use that uselessly? Why would you not want to use that with someone you actually care about? Like you want them to feel that energy. You don't want yourself to, you know, that self-gratification that's pure. That's like self, you know what I mean?
That's cool. So it's like by serving with your chi, you're actually doing a better thing for the world because you're giving people your chi that you keep it. Like it's selfish to keep your chi to yourself. Yeah. Like if you're like self-gratifying yourself, it's like, dude, that was a selfish way of using your chi. Yeah. Everybody else wants some of it, so give it away for free.
Give it away, dude. Give it away. And naturally, like, as you know, like a month in, you'll like, again, maybe you're talking to a few girls and it just seems to be going so well. And, you know, I'd say I've kind of got to the point now where I'd say, I think, I'm probably a month abstinent, I would say, maybe longer. I've kind of almost lost track because I just tried to forget, and there's little things you can do. You know, not saying I struggle with addiction, but like I'm a man, you know, like if you're not if you're not talking to someone and you get bored, like, you know, XYZ happens, but you like I would just wear like a little rubber band. And anytime I would think like I'd have like sexual impulses or something like that, and I knew I needed to be a reminder, like, no, that's your, like, this is your power. Yes, the business isn't where you want it to be, but you're going to set yourself back if you do this. Like, and I would just kind of shock myself. And eventually the rubber band breaks because you've shocked yourself enough. And you're like, do I really want to go back and get another rubber band? Or am I strong enough now to just know it's there on my wrist, whether it's there or not? Yeah. So once that rubber band breaks, you're like, okay, like, you know, I think I'm good now. And I haven't talked about it too much, but like naturally I'm in like a more healthy, call it talking stage of things where I've just met somebody that actually seems to really give a shit about what I'm doing. And I said, I have faith in the unknown. I don't worry about it on a daily basis. I just, you know, I just go with the flow, you know, like we talk once or twice a day and we just, you know, keep it casual and see each other a couple times a month. Like it's just very, granted it's more long distance, so it's a little easier that way. But again, it's still, I don't think she came into my life on accident. I think it was a direct result of me just focusing on myself and trying to be the best version and conserving my energy for the right people and not using it with the wrong people. And she always is like very, like I just hadn't met somebody who like, I guess really kind of cared about what you were doing. It was like curious and like, oh, why do you feel like it almost is like they start to try to figure out, why does he feel so good all the time? Like, why? And that's your mystery. You can hold that to yourself, whether she does watch the podcast, so she might see this. I don't know. But like, they'll start to try to figure out that game. And that's, you know, they talk about the element of mystery and relationships and it keeps things interesting.
Right.
Like that can be your little element of mystery. You don't have to be a liar. You just have to, everything is good because it is good, and I'm taking care of myself and I'm self-confident. And I, like you said, it's a value exchange. I want to give this person as much of that self-confidence as I can if they're lacking in those areas. But if they're lacking in those areas and I can't provide that to them, they're going to go find the person that will, and they probably will ghost you, or they'll exit out of your life. I guarantee if I started making a series of bad decisions, this girl would go from talking to me every day to magically something randomly happens and she's out of my life. And you don't really know what the flip side of that is. Not that I worry about it, but at the same time, like, I know as long as I just keep doing what I do and I keep trying to be the best version of me and providing value to her and giving a shit, like, things will work out naturally the way they're supposed to. And, I know she came into my life in a period where I was on, like, just heading up and had been focused on what I needed to do. So, yeah, dude, I think that's awesome. I'm glad glad you asked that. Yeah,
that's great. That's like, do you know McGregor's girlfriend's name?
Yeah. I don't know her name, but when I watched his documentary, we're probably thinking of a similar conversation, and that set off some
D Devlin
too.
D Devlin.
Yeah.
Every guy needs their D Devlin.
They do.
That's like, 100%. Where she was like cooking him meals when he was a plumber on welfare, trying to become a boxer. Where she gets the dream, and she's like, I want to hear your dream. I want you to like tell me your dream at night, every night before we go to sleep, and I want to support you to get there. Like that's the woman I'm looking for. I haven't found it yet, but I'm looking for my D Devlin as well.
100%. And the more you're that for you, the sooner. I think, like attracts like. It's like people forget these simple rules because, again, like the sex thing is just such a powerful trigger in our brain that it's so easy for guys to just go after I watched this happen in high school and college all the time, where I'd watch guys just date girls that were interested in them. And I'm like, dude, just because, like, there's other girls that would be interested in you, and they're not necessarily the highest quality girl, but because, they're giving you attention, you think you have to like make all these sacrifices in your life. And like, I know guys that get into relationships and they don't break up with girls because they like, you can read it on their face. They're not confident that they could do that process again. And I experienced it. I had a girlfriend when I was a freshman in college, and I haven't had a girlfriend in 3 years. And I know a big result of that was going through kind of those ups and downs of being like, God, well, I really thought it was going to work out then. Like, girls are canceled. Like, I'm not putting myself through that again. Like,
bro, me as well. I had a girlfriend in like freshman year, and then a second year, but now I haven't had one in 2.5 or 3 years.
Yeah. And you've made the most progress probably on yourself in that time period. And I only know, watching your content and everything, and the more you expose yourself to different environments, like those people, they're going to come in and they're going to, you're going to find the person that like really respects what you're doing and, communicating that. Like I was also never the best communicator on how I really felt about things. And
how did you get better at that?
Really
just like confidence.
It's a confidence thing. It's more, I think it's one of those things where you can be rare just by telling a girl how you actually feel, not necessarily like after the first date, like you're having all these thoughts and you want to make them feel good, more like throughout the process of talking to them. Like I'm more open talking about things that trigger me. I'm more open to talking about things that didn't work in relationships in the past, and it just kind of comes up in conversation. I was always so afraid to say, oh, I don't like when, girls are bad communicators, or when they just think I'm going to play this game with them. Like, I was like, I understand there's a time and a place, and it makes it interesting. Like, I've literally told this girl this. I was like, I'm not the type to give my energy to everyone, because I've experienced that. And it's just, if I'm giving you attention in my time, you're the only person I really have time and energy like that to give to. And if that's the truth, and you can actually say that to someone, they'll respond. Like, the universe responds, and they'll respond back to you. Like I always say, like, your conversations happen on purpose. So the fact that she responds to that with, I've never really, she's like, oh wow, I've never, met somebody who's actually like that. And it's like, oh, well, what did we just talk about all the time with girls? They're looking for like kind of those rare qualities. And just by you being a good communicator about the things that you're willing to put up with and the things that you don't do very well with, then, you know, you have that. It's just like being honest. I think that's probably the best piece of advice is the more honest you can be and the more receptive they are to it. It's a test for them too. Hey, I'm sharing this with you. And the fact that you didn't just like flip out and never text me again means a lot. And telling them that, like, that's another thing you can communicate, right? Like, hey, like I told you this really important thing that happened in my life. And I just wanted to say, you know, it's awesome that you've just, you know, you reacted so well to it. Because a lot of girls, they are mature than us. Like they mature so much earlier than we do. So like reality is, you know, you tell a 19, 20, 21-year-old girl some of these things, if they're you know, if they're really if they have their stuff together and they, you know, they are kind of at that level, they'll respect it and they're not expecting it. Right. You know, so yeah, just being a better communicator, you'll definitely because it'll also weed out the people that aren't meant to be there. Because again, you'll say those things. Not that I've necessarily experienced this on the flip end, because I really only got honest once I realized like, oh, you know, she's got her stuff together, she's doing XYZ, she's curious, like, you know, I kind of wanted to tell these things because I was like, if I don't, and then these things happen and they bother me, they're not even going to know that it's bothering you. Like we like to assume as men and as people that people can like read our minds. And it's like one thing you learn as you mature is like, they can't, like nobody knows what's going on in your life at any given point unless you tell them. And a lot of people respect it, you know, like when you do that. So yeah, just being honest, I think, and it's not easy. It's not going to be easy. You're going to, you fear it because it puts you down. You think it's going to put down your ego as a man, when I think it actually strengthens it. And it actually gives you the confidence to be like, it's okay to tell people exactly where you're at. And it's because those are the people that should be in your life based on how they interpret that. And, you know, like they want to help you through that. They don't want, like, you should be, if you've been cheated on, you know, like making those things clear, like, hey, you know, I've been cheated on in the past, so I'm sorry if I'm a little overprotective, but also how does that make you feel? You know, like how does it make you feel when I'm curious about, you know, what bar you're going to or XYZ? Like, I know in my heart, I'm just doing it so that I know you're going to be okay. I'm not worried about, you know, other guys or XYZ. Or if you are, say why. Hey, I'm worried about, you know, you going out to the bar XYZ because, you know, of things I observe or, you know, things you've told me about your past. You know, how can we navigate this? And they will either take it with a grain of salt or they'll, you know, respond well to it and be like, oh, I really respect that you told me that. And, you know, I'm going to try to be better because I actually give a shit. It kind of, you should put them in positions to show they care and not just assume like, oh, as long as I just give her whatever she wants, she's going to be with me the rest of my life. That's not how it works. Yeah. You know, you gotta have to be, it's give and take, you know?
I've got homework, man.
Yeah, I love it, dude.
That was good.
Yeah, that's sweet, dude. I know we've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes. It feels like 25 minutes. Like, you know, so is there anything like we haven't touched on? I think this has been a great conversation so far. Or anything, you know, you'd want to explore a little deeper before we kind of hop off here?
Well, yeah, I guess a great question is like, what are you excited about? Dude, I am so excited because, my best friend Seb, he hasn't done an announcement yet. So like, he's going to do it soon and we'll make this announcement we'll make this podcast drop after his announcement, just for like his sake, but he's going to switch to, MMA from running. So that is super exciting because the only reason he was in a different city than me is because he was on the for the track team at because there's like the NCAA school in Canada in Vancouver.
Yeah,
so he's on the track team there. But now that because there's never been a 6'8" like long distance runner, like, and like his just genetics, and he's had the same time since grade 11 or grade 12, and he's the hardest worker that I know. So like that's hard for me to see him keep like hitting these roadblocks when I see him working harder than everybody else. So he's going to make the switch to MMA. I'm going like all in on like boxing as my sport, which I realized like I'm like a natural at, dude. Like I'm a really good boxer. I've been kickboxing for like 3.5, 4 years, but I'm a boxer more than I'm a kickboxer.
Nice.
So it's like now we're gonna be like in excuse me. We're gonna be in like cahoots with one another as like a content duo, a training duo, and a business duo. So I'm so excited for that like brotherhood to just develop between both of us. That's the biggest thing I'm excited about, man.
Yeah, dude, I love that. I think that's awesome. I've definitely taken a route down MMA since I like got into college and just watching it. And I think the purest thing I see about that is it's like I was also a college runner, and that's why me and Sebastian we get along so well because we kind of we get it. You know, you do hit a ceiling with your speed. You know, there comes a time when and it's a lot of just, it's also the competition of running like gets just so much better over the course of time. But with MMA, it's like you see these guys, like I just love hearing their stories. Like when I watch the UFC, like these guys have a mentality when they go into the ring, like I'm okay if I die doing this because this is what I've spent my entire life building myself up to do. And you see it come out in their performances. And I think that's such a healthy energy. Like I talk about reps all the time. And it stems from a sports background, but there's reps in meditation, there's reps in positive thinking, there's reps in you know, creating that like energy of like when it comes to MMA and like
the chi reps.
Yeah, like there's chi reps. There's 100%. There's months of celibacy reps like that, like to raise your energy. And like I love that, dude. I think that's awesome. And just to kind of, I'm curious, when did you know Sebastian before you guys were roommates?
We went to high school together.
Cool.
And then he met me because I run like entrepreneurial events in the city. So he met me at one of those that I hosted. Yeah. And then we were like, oh, I remember you from high school. He would always, so my initials are JB, like Jacob Brackett. So he would always come up to me in the halls. He's just a goofy guy, bro. He's just a fun loving, hilarious guy. Yeah. He would come up to me in the halls and like be like, "Oh, JB, oh," and he'd do like some like Justin Bieber like little thing. Yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, bro. Now he's like he's we call each other bullet brothers because we're like, I'd take a bullet for you, dogs. You're my bullet brother.
100%, and I love that, man. I always say the people that come into your life, it's not by coincidence. You don't have conversations by coincidence. It's because, you know, like the mental game and the mental energies start to align, and that's awesome, man. I really hope you guys crush it with that. I know I've been flirting. I got a bunch of reasons to come out to Canada, and more specifically West Canada. I'm an East Coast boy.
Yeah, let's go.
I've got more friends in Calgary, Alberta, and Dan Martell's out there, and you know, I would love to get out there potentially this summer. We'll see how the cards.
Let's go, dude. We would host you and have a good time, dude. Awesome. Calgary, you know, Emmanuel Kangu? He's on the agency navigator team for Iman.
Okay, I've seen the name for sure, but I can't imagine.
He's a black guy. It might help. Like anyways, he said his whole crew is coming for Calgary Stampede. Okay. So like MMGA is going to host them there.
Cool.
And then I don't know if Iman will be there or
what's Calgary Stampede?
It's the world's biggest rodeo.
No shit. Oh, that's awesome. I fucking love rodeos, dude. When is it?
Yeah, dude. It's July 2nd to July 15th.
All right. It's a 13-day event.
Yeah, 2 whole weeks of like concerts, rodeo, like just drinking. Like it's a crazy party.
Okay, all right, Calgary Stampede. You might be, because this is another thing I like to pinpoint. Anybody I have on these internet episodes, I always say they've got a spot in person for part 2.
Absolutely.
So whenever I'm in their city or around their city, like I call it a podcast tour, but I'm just gonna try to hit as many people in the area as I can and get them in person. So yeah, you've definitely locked down your spot. Sebastian's got his spot locked up. Keegan's out there. Dan Martell, if you ever come across this episode, I'm going to keep DMing you until we get into contact, probably on a founder's hike. Yeah, I'm going to rip a founder's hike and just kind of like float it out there. Like, hey man, you got 20 minutes after today? Like, let's chop it up.
Out in Kamloops?
What's up?
Oh, sorry, out in Kelowna?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Founders Hikes, because we got a boy Brock there.
Yeah.
Our boy Brock is like a triathlete, lives out there, so cool. We're trying to do those Founders Hikes as well.
How far are you guys from Kelowna? Just so I can kind of.
we're gonna do a road trip out to BC when we go to move there around like May 7th.
Mm-hmm.
We'll road trip out to BC, so it will be about 8 hours to Kelowna, and then about 5 more hours to get to Vancouver.
Gotcha.
Just heading west.
Okay, gotcha.
A little bit, just basically southwest the whole way.
Nice. All right, cool, man. Well, Jacob, I can't thank you enough. I'll probably end it here in a second, and then it'll just stop, and we can chop it up after. But cool. Dude, this was an awesome episode. Where can we find you? And I know you just talked about what you're most excited about. So if you got any final thoughts, this is your moment.
Just Instagram. Right now on Instagram, we're doing like a Instagram push. I got a content guy now, so he's helping me out with that. So Instagram at Jacob Brackett, JACOB, Brackett with 2 T's, and then an underscore, and then just.
And how can we join? If somebody wants to join MMGA, what plug that for me?
Just follow me, and then there'll be announcements on my Instagram, because right now we're just doing in-person stuff. Because I think people start communities the wrong way. They start online and then they go in person. I think you should start in person and then go online. So that's how we're doing it.
Love it, man. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome,
dude.
bro.
It was fun.
Thanks so much for having me, Jack.
Of course.